Hello everyone, thank you very much for watching this event, this rescheduled event, and hopefully today there will be no power surge to interrupt us like it happened a few weeks ago, and we'll finish our discussion. Thank you very much for being here with us. Today we'll discuss about the path to becoming an excellent software developer with our special guests here, Maria and Mircea. They are senior developers. They will tell you everything that they did to reach this point in a very short time, and I'm pretty sure that we'll have a lot of things to learn. But before starting our discussion, let me first tell you a bit of words about our today's sponsor. Lemon.io is a freelance platform for experienced developers. You should definitely check them out, folks. They have a lot of things to offer for mid-plus and senior developers. Lemon.io offers projects considering developers' tech stack, skills, and expectations about projects, their duration or type. You don't have to look for clients yourself, sell yourself every time, and dump on prices. All the communication is handled by Lemon.io. And you basically just code and get an excellent salary and enjoy your life. So give them a chance and check out our sponsor's website, which you will find in the video description. Of course, besides that, I would like to give a special thanks to Endava, who provides today our environment, very nice room, Irish pub room in our Bucharest office here. And of course, I hope you check out Endava as well. With that being said, let's go back to us guys and start the discussion. And I see you are already here, so somebody tells us the voice is very low, so I will try to speak a bit louder. With that being said, so again, thank you very much. I can actually try to adjust. Make sure. Okay, so let's see if it's better now. I think it's much better now. And I hope it's not too loud. Please let me know, guys, if the voice is too loud now. I will make sure I will go back again and make it a little bit slower. So thank you very much for joining us and leaving us the feedback. We are waiting for your questions. Much for being here with us. You are senior developers, and we can say that you have reached that in a very short time. So the question is for you, how did you make it? So let's start with the very beginning. Let's start with school, and I would like to start with your faculty or master studies, or both of them, whichever the level you have, because in the past we had a discussion about the possibility to join a tech team, a software development team without having technical studies. And from what I know, you both have technical studies, and I want to make a bit of a comparison and see what you think. Do you think the school helped you? Could you make it without what you've learned in the school? Was it easier? How is this from your perspective? Let's maybe start with Maria here.
Okay, so from my perspective, it definitely helped to have technical knowledge. It was much more easier for me to follow different additional courses in order to learn stuff for work. It helped me both the bachelor degree and the master ones, but I would say that it's not actually mandatory. Fun fact, I'm working with two colleagues of mine on my team which had a professional reconversion, and thus they didn't took technical courses in the beginning. However, I didn't know that from the very beginning. They were very good at what they were doing, and I just found that recently.
So they probably took technical courses, but they didn't have a faculty specific bachelor degree or master studies in that field. Yeah. I bet that they had some technical studies probably in particular. But what you say is that you didn't even figure out that they didn't have a bachelor degree in software development before, and they are still very good. What about you, Mircea?
Yeah, hi everyone. So, thank you for the invitation. So, just to have a little bit of context, I finished a university in a technical field, but not exactly in programming and computer science. I graduated from electrical and electronic engineering, which provided me some knowledge about Java and another programming languages, but not necessarily computer science. And from my opinion, it helps to, of course, I also graduated a high school in the computer science class, but I think everyone can learn programming right now. Because there are a lot of courses online, and even after I graduated from an electrical and electronic field, although I got a job, actually I got a job in programming field and
During faculty?
No,
after faculty. Okay.
Exactly after faculty. I got a job in programming, but I still continued to learn from another sources, not from a faculty.
And you think that with only what you had in the faculty, it was definitely not enough?
Yes.
And that's because, of course, one of the reasons would be the fact that you didn't take a bachelor degree in software development, but in electrical engineering. And one thing I know, and I want to debate on that, I know from you, is that you didn't finish your bachelor degree in Romania, where we are from here. You finished it in London. Am I right? Okay. And so one of the things that I'm usually asked is, does it matter where you get your bachelor degree? And that's not necessarily from people in Romania, it's from people all around the world. So I have people from Singapore asking me that, people from Paris asking me that. Once in a while somebody asks me that on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Twitter. Now, because we are here, people from different locations that got their bachelor degrees in different locations, maybe it's a good point to debate. So let's see, for example, Maria, you finished your bachelor degree and your master studies in Bucharest. Mircea, you finished your bachelor degree in London. How did you take it, Mircea? In London, it's better than in...
Yeah, so I can compare it a little bit because I'm now taking a master degree in Bucharest. So I did my bachelor degree in the UK, but I'm taking a master degree here in Bucharest right now. What I have to say here, and I think it is important for everyone, is that in the UK, besides the technical knowledge and all the technical skills that I acquired from there, one skill that helped me a lot, and I don't know, maybe Maria will continue to say if this is the case in Romania or not, but one skill that I acquired from the UK is learning how to learn. Because I finished an electrical and electronic degree, but the most important thing was that the teachers there teach you how to learn, how to structure your courses, where to get the information from. And I don't know, before going to faculty in high school, I knew a bit, but not at the same level. And after I finished the bachelor degree, I don't know how to say, I was on the impression that I can learn everything, even computer science in a higher level.
Okay. So anyway, if we take that in software development, it's a continuous learning process. Software developer job is rather to learn than to program, to write code. The writing code is a consequence of what you learn.
Exactly.
So learning how to learn, that's a very important skill. And what I understand is that comparing the school you have you are now in Romania is not teaching you that kind of soft skill. It's teaching you technical stuff, but not that kind of soft skill.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you about that question.
Yeah. So what do you think, Maria? In your case, did the school teach you how to learn, or only technical stuff?
Mostly technical stuff. They taught us, but you kind of have to figure it out on your own, how to learn that amount of information. But most importantly, or at least for me, it was I had to learn how to search for information, because they teach you some small things and then they ask you to build big projects, and you have to.
So in the end, what is the conclusion? Is that the school literally helped you somehow, but it's not mandatory. So for folks out there who don't have technical studies, you advise them to still try to become software developers because they have a good chance. That's what I learned from you. So is that right?
Yeah, I think so. So if you have like an appetite to learn and learning new stuff, you can always learn computer science, because I think it's quite easy and you have a lot of information free.
Maybe a terrible question, but did you have colleagues?
Yes.
And maybe especially in your case, Maria, because from what I understood, Mircea was anyway on a slightly different field, like electronics. So maybe not all of your colleagues anyway did want to become software developers since they were on a different field. But in your case, Maria, you studied this field. So do you have colleagues who didn't become software developers even though they studied? Is there the other way around? Because we only discuss about, okay, what if you don't have the faculty, can you become a software developer? You told me yes already. Is there a possibility that you study this field and you then change your mind?
Yeah, I mean, in my case, I had colleagues who chose to become a cook, for instance, or instead of becoming a developer and writing the code, they prefer to test the code others wrote or become a business analyst or stuff like that. So it's not mandatory to become a developer if you...
Which is normal, I guess. I mean, no one has to be discouraged of changing their mind. That's you got to learn in a field and you find out it's not for you for any kind of reason. It can be maybe you don't like it. It can be that you like something else better. It can be it's not for you, like you don't understand it. It's not the end of the world. Just changed it.
Yes,
the same, I probably don't take a job if you don't like it. I mean, even if you study software development, and you know software development is well paid, because a lot of people, from what I understand, at least from the questions I get from my viewers here, they say usually I'm changing my field because software development is paid very well. But unless you also like what you are doing, does it matter how much is paid? Because if you don't like what you are doing, then you can't do that your whole life. You lose your whole life doing something you don't like. Okay, so I guess we came with a conclusion on this, at least that what you tell me is that indeed it helps you study in the field, but it's not the end of the world if you didn't. And then of course what you need to consider is continuously learning, which is an aspect that happens, and I can promise you that, at least for me, even now I'm continuously studying, and I have some years of experience already, and I don't think that this will ever end. Okay, now you finished school, you searched for a job. How did you look for a job, by the way?
Like
LinkedIn, I don't know, somebody called you already, you've been to events, specific organized events where companies offered you possibilities. How do you find your first job?
For me, for instance, I had to do an internship during my college, and that's how I was using some platform in order to, like LinkedIn, let's say, in order to apply for jobs, and that was for my first one. And afterwards, when I wanted to move to a full-time job, I was using LinkedIn, but also recommendations from different
But you actively looked yourself for the job?
Yeah, we can say that.
Which makes no difference from what I've heard from the other discussion, where the guys didn't finish a bachelor degree in informatics and they still had to search for the job. Yes. So it's not like if you finished the a bachelor degree in a technical one or in software development, you automatically get hired. You still have to look yourself actively for the job.
You have
Okay, so
better chances of getting called for an interview, but it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. Okay, that's very good to know, I guess, for everyone out there who is looking.
And I can confirm that I think at least this happens in the UK as well, so not in Romania only. So maybe or on the world.
Even when you didn't have your first job, you are in the college, you don't get called for every application. So in the beginning, it's still very difficult to.
And it's okay to fail an interview.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I failed 20 first time when I applied.
So that's pretty good to know, because I think one of the other lot of questions I get from viewers is, I failed. Someone told me I already failed 3 interviews. and I shouldn't continue, isn't it? And I tell them, okay, 3 interviews is not that a big number, is it? I mean, even if you failed, maybe 20 is not necessarily bad. It's just that you didn't find the right fit. Okay, but the point, one of the points that I wanted to reach out in the end is I chose you two because I know that you are very, very fast trackers. That means that you ended up being considered seniors in a very short time. And I want to mention that this happened in a large corporation. And for those of you who don't understand why I bold that, why I put a focus on that, is because it's not like in a startup where you have 5 people out of which 3 are managers. In a large corporation, you have 10,000 plus people, so it's much more difficult to get promoted. You need to really prove that you know what you know, you are valuable, you are very important for not only for the company but for the projects you are working on. So I want to learn the secret. I want to learn how did you do from the very beginning, from joining a team, to how do you split your time, if you have free time or not. So let's take all these subjects. So you finish school. I think I learned a lot about school. You somehow got over the interviews, even after 20 interviews, but that somehow you got to get a role of a software developer in the end, and now you are in a team. How did you feel joining a new team the first time? What were the difficulties? How did you take them to be successful?
Do you want to take that first?
Yeah, sure. So on my side, I think at the beginning, when I joined this company, it was very helpful for me because I had the opportunity to work with a very skilled developer. And in my 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, I worked in a peer-to-peer session, and basically I had the opportunity to see how is coding, the quality, how to write good quality code, how to think when you build something when you code something.
So I think that's really important what you are saying, because I think that folks be very attentive here, because it's not an answer only for those of you who are joining a team. It becomes to start a lesson for those of you who are senior guys and have a new joiner in the team. So if you have a new joiner, what I learned from what you said now is that one of the things that really helped you a lot was to literally peer-to-peer with a senior developer, and that helped you a lot grow faster at least than if you...
I got to see exactly how to do it, and then I wanted to prove that I can do it for myself, and basically in the following weeks after I continued working for myself, I was okay, how did my senior colleague wrote the code, and I tried to do the same. And basically I concluded that I can do it for myself as well. So then I had I was very confident, and I pushed further and further, because you know that you can do what your colleague do, what your colleague does, and this was very important for me at the beginning.
Okay.
But I don't know. Do you want to continue on the?
One more question for you, Mircea, and then maybe Maria can share the opinion for the same questions, because I had something on my mind. Did you feel that you needed something else if you were now switching the places? Would you have done the same thing, or did you miss something that would have been even more helpful? It's already what you said. It's already helpful what happened, but something that could have been even more helpful that the company or the team could have offered you.
So another trick here.
If there is something that you feel you are missing, if not.
So honestly, the thing is that I told you how I did in this company, because I had another 10 months experience in my last job, and the thing is that whatever I told you right now didn't apply in my last
okay, so that's
workplace.
comparison.
So that's why I knew how to start fresh, because I knew what missed there, and then I came here and I said, okay, I have to do whatever missed there, and for example, I didn't for example. As I said, the senior developer helped me on the peer-to-peer session, in the peer-to-peer fashion, and the thing is that I asked him a lot of questions. That's one thing that it was very important for me, because I knew what to ask. As if, for example, 1 year before I didn't know how and what to ask, now I knew what to ask. And
okay. And how long did it take you? How long was this peer-to-peer session? About some days, some weeks?
No, it was like 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. That's really important. I'm asking because I got some questions. I do still remember questions that I get during time. Somebody asked me, this peer-to-peer is a loss of time. They told me I don't do that because it means spending a couple of developers on the same stuff. And the more you put them, the more the more you lose, isn't, because you instead of having 3 weeks with 2 developers on 2 different tasks, you now have 3 weeks with 2 developers on the same tasks. Is that the case? Because what I hear from you is that would actually make, or at least in your case, made you even more valuable, because afterwards you were able to solve much better the things. So on a long term, do you think that this, in terms of say project management, did it help you, or?
Yeah, I definitely can say that, and not only from my perspective in that moment, but also from my perspective in this moment when I have new joiners in my team, and I see them trying to asking questions, and this peer-to-peer fashion session with the senior colleague helped them to. So
it looks like losing time, but it's not necessarily losing time. On a short term, maybe you lose time. On long term, you win a lot. Yes. What do you think, Maria, about your case? How was your case in joining a team?
Well, first of all, I just want to comment on what Mircea have said, because I totally agree with him. I've been in different projects, and I observe the change and the impact that all those peer-to-peer session has on your well-being, actually, because on different projects, yes, I had peer-to-peer session at the beginning, knowledge transfer about how the entire app works, a bigger picture, and after that just watching a more senior developer solve their tasks. And then I started on other projects where nobody told me anything from the very beginning, and I had to figure all of that by my own. Not only that, it took me much more time, but in the end I was a little bit frustrated that it took me so much to figure out stuff that they should have told me, and then I would have solved the entire thing much more faster. Yes. So in the end, it's much more effective to have those sessions, and not only that, you understand the bigger picture of the project, but you can also pick up different stuff that other developers are doing, and then you are going to apply them on your own. I mean, for me, it happened a lot of times. and I learned new things that I wasn't aware of, even shortcuts in the video or stuff like that. And in addition to that, what I wanted to mention in the very beginning of my career, what helped me a lot was to rely on more senior developers in order to guide me through my study path, because I just graduated from college. I had fundamental knowledge in Java, but that was all. And some people guided me towards what books I should learn, what studies should I take, and stuff like that. And that helped me a lot in the beginning as well.
Okay. I have a question for you too, and then a conclusion for that. But before raising my question, we have one from the audience, so I would like to answer to the audience first. I think we have actually a couple of questions, so let's take them one by one. How do you get to the next level after you learn the fundamentals, assuming you don't work in a company? That's an interesting question. So assuming you don't work in a company, which is maybe not, I'm not sure if it is your case or not. It isn't your case. Did you find yourself out in such a situation?
Actually, for
the faculty maybe, or I'm not sure. But what do you think? How would you? Let's change a bit. Even if you maybe didn't find yourself in the situation, how would you get to the next level after you learn the fundamentals? Assuming you don't work in a company, is that possible? Would you rather try to work in a company instead?
For me, actually, it was this case, because I graduated, I knew Java fundamentals, but and wanted to apply for jobs, but I didn't want to apply just for the fundamental stuff. I decided that I want to work with Java, and I learned about Spring Framework, and I just started to study it by myself.
The question is Spring fundamentals from your perspective.
At this moment, when I found out that there were so many other topics, yes, I mean, I'm
asking that because I'm not sure if what is the perspective of the audience about what fundamentals is. Fundamentals, some consider fundamentals, I know, just exceptions, defining variables if for a while. Others consider, and for example, from my perspective, fundamentals is also knowing about Spring context, knowing a bit of JDBC connection. So it's still part of the fundamentals. So that's why I was asking you what you mean by fundamentals.
At that time, those were advanced topics.
At that time, were advanced. So exactly. What you say anyway is that at some point you need to gain experience in a company. Yeah. Did you think about open source projects, something else like that? Maybe writing your own project and selling it or making it available?
I think you can do whenever you want. For example, if you don't work in a company, I don't know, maybe help a friend who wants to develop an application or something like that, and you offer to help him or her. But I don't encourage to stay too much. Like,
there are downsides, isn't it? I mean, working in a team in a company is a lot different.
Yes.
Okay.
Working by yourself, you cannot, like, I don't know, scale the application and see a huge application and how it is working.
Okay, so our chat literally exploded. So let me switch to the next, hopefully the next question. What resources do you use to become really advanced in software development? Resource, that's a very good question. I think it's one of the points I had on my list anyway. What kind of resources maybe, meaning do you prefer video tutorials, books? Do you encourage people taking free resources, paid resources, trainings? What is your opinion, both of you? So it's an interesting one.
I can go first. So in the beginning, you have to discover what resource fits you better. For me, for instance, in the beginning, when I didn't know much, the YouTube videos helped me a lot, because they were fundamentals and was very simple to understand them. After that, I've started reading books, technical books, and only after that, I've started joining different courses in order to do some hands-on.
If you were to start now as a junior, new joiner, call it whatever you want, or maybe even student who didn't pass those 20 interviews, what would be the first material to choose? Would it be video tutorials, books, something else?
from my perspective, but this is only my case, I really love online courses. I took them from the very beginning in my 8th grade in high school, I think.
Do you have any favorite sources, like
yeah, my first
Pluralsight or something?
Udemy.
Okay.
For me, if I had to do it all over again, I'll do it the same. But right now, I prefer reading books rather than watching. I don't know. It's kind of annoying when you have to fast forward different videos or have
that's the kind of a joke I always hear. Do you want to learn Spring Security? Yes, I'm going to Lawrence's channel and put it on Forex. So that's what indeed. I think many people find it annoying to watch 1 hour tutorial, even if it's edited, because you still have to learn. You have to hear things that you might know. While reading a book, sometimes you can easily skip over pages or paragraphs. It's easier than searching maybe on using the bar, the progress bar. Okay, so let's. I hope we answered you guys. If not, please continue leaving questions. We anyway have, I think, plenty. Some people define, that's a very interesting one. I would like after you to also answer this one in my say my perspective. So some people define seniority based on the years spent in the industry. We here used so much senior and junior and intermediate, and when I started the video I introduced you to as being senior developers. Then maybe you can tell us how many experience you have now, and we call you senior developers. And again, one of the reasons I invited you to is because what we consider you is fast trackers, and I already explained that means that you grew to a seniority level in a short time. And indeed, some companies consider seniority based on the time spent in the industry, where some others define seniority based on experience one gained. And the audience wants us to share our point. So your point of view. What is seniority? Is years spent? Is knowledge gained? Abilities, maybe skills, a combination of those, all of the above. Okay, so all of the above. So explain us a bit, how do you think about this?
Yeah, on my perspective, being a senior doesn't mean, of course, I don't know, having 5 years or whatever is the years that someone considered a senior, but also how do you perform in your team? How do you I don't know, for example, how do you write code? How do you help others in your team? For example, a senior can help some juniors or mid-level developers, whether a junior can't, and I think it depends, and it's not even technical skills. You have to develop a lot of soft skills, at least in an environment like us, in which we develop some products for another companies, and you have to talk a lot with the client. With
you even have to learn the business. You have, as a software developer, to learn what your users use actually, because it's not like we are it's not like we are implementing video games where it's much easier from the perspective point of view. Even though I'm pretty sure that even there is not that easy, still figuring out how an industry works is much more difficult and much riskier, as in case of an industry, especially if you have finance, where you can play with billions of dollars in some of the domains. You can't really do too many mistakes, and you can actually screw it up with only one mistake enough. So that's a lot more difficult, and learning maybe the business is also an important skill that can make you a senior, isn't it? So it's this combination.
Yeah, for me it is the entire combination as well. You need technical skills, but for me at least most importantly is to have the soft skills. I mean, I knew a lot of technical stuff, and then I was put in the position where I had to talk a lot more with the client and manage a small team, and I realized how difficult it was in the very beginning.
But it helped you.
It helped me a lot.
It took you out of your sphere of comfort.
Yes. For me, at least, I found that I'm growing much more faster when I put myself in riskier, in dangerous situations, let's say, where I don't feel comfortable doing that. But I know that in the end, I will improve myself.
So one of the key points to become fast tracker is also to have the courage of continuously getting out of your comfort sphere, do things that you don't like, even though you don't like them. Don't stay too much comfortable on something.
Yeah.
You felt you learned something, then you try something more difficult, and then something more difficult, or not necessarily maybe difficult, but something that you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which might seem difficult for you at that time and will definitely become easier. It's like going to the gym, you use some weights, and then you will at some point have to use bigger weights because you
and
get
if
used
you
to.
feel like if you're stuck and you don't learn new things, change something, change the project.
Change the project. Okay. So how do you guys keep yourself updated with latest technologies?
From my perspective, at least there are a lot of articles that I read. I have magazines, technical magazines that I subscribe to, and I receive notifications and I read everything that is new. I don't know, there are many ways, but...
So usually still what we discussed, like the same learning material, books, and stuff like that. Maria, do you have something else that you use to keep...
No,
I do have actually. I do follow a lot of guys on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I kind of I'm up to date with what they say. I'm also trying myself to put their things when I learn something new to help others. So I think social networking is also a key now in keeping you up to date as well. Even YouTube, exactly. So it's a key point as well. So not only maybe books, materials, newsletters, of course, what you told me already, but also social media in general. And I said that I will share my opinion on the question about the experience. I do prefer to consider experience mix of skills in terms of what is a junior and what is a senior rather than years of experience. And that's because I found myself in plenty of situations during time where people with maybe 20 years experience didn't have the skills that I found in people with a couple of years experience. By the way, guys, how many years experience do you have?
2.5.
2.5
and 2.
And 2. So 2 point something, and that means senior. So it's not, and from my perspective and from in my opinion, the correct perspective is don't consider the years. Years of experience might be very helpful if you continuously during those years of experience indeed continue to learn and become better and better, but that doesn't mean that you can't be considered a senior in a big corporation after just maybe a couple of years, as long as you are a fast tracker. And that's what we do here. We try to share the key points how to become a fast tracker, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people watching us now, and there are many people, and I see many comments already, they want to know how to improve faster. And I personally know a lot of fast trackers, so I can promise you that what I've heard from Maria and Mircea by now, it's also what I hear from others, so it's the truth. You can trust us. Then someone, another question, I think that it was on my list, but I'm very happy to see that the audience is always one step ahead. So how to deal with feeling overwhelmed, being new in the field at the first job? That's kind of something I wanted to ask you also. I will rephrase also mine, but later. So first of all, how do you maybe even did you feel overwhelmed in the beginning? And if you did, how did you get over feeling overwhelmed as a new joiner of a team, or maybe your first job?
Well, for me, for instance, I had moments when I felt like that, and it definitely helped to get feedback back about my work from the worker, from my colleagues actually, because even when I thought that I was messing up and didn't meet the expectations, the feedback was actually very good, and that gave me trust and allow me to pursue. And besides that, it actually helped to talk about this kind of feelings with someone.
So interpersonal communication, because
Yeah.
I think what our audience tells us is that I will quote, I feel I'm taking a really long time to figure out easy things out. Do you find yourself also in this sentence? I feel I'm taking a really long time to figure out easy things out. So do you also feel sometimes that it takes you a long time to figure out easy things? If yes, how do you step over that? And that's what I think is kind of called impostor syndrome at some point. So because many people experiencing that, it's just their own opinion.
Yes, I think so. And even in my situation, in my first workplace, I think I had some moments when I was overwhelmed and I thought that I'm not doing good things. What helped me was to be proactive and actually ask my colleagues how I perform, and if I don't perform well, please help me how to.
Okay, cool. So that's a really good point. So I think what you say is actually feedback, isn't it?
Yeah,
get feedback from the team. So we discuss, first of all, discussion, feeling you trust your teammates. And if you don't trust them, find out why you don't trust them, find out why they don't trust you maybe, but figure out that first. And then once you gain the trust from both sides, get the feedback. You just tell them, do I really do that bad, or is it just me, it's just in my head? And what I know is that in most situations, if not all of them actually, from what I knew from others, is only in their heads.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy. It's easy once you learned it, which will of course be for everything you learn. For me, at some point Java was difficult. I started learning it, now Java is easy. I started learning Spring, now Spring is easy, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty simple. So that's why sometimes you have to figure out if it's not just in your head, and it's just in your head sometimes, in most cases.
I want to add something regarding this matter. I found that that this type of feeling comes up much more often lately when we are all working from home and we don't see each other's face, and the communication is much more difficult. And for instance, last year I felt like an imposter, and what helped me a lot was that we actually meet the entire team.
Online?
No, not online. We actually decided to go on a team building and get to know each other for the first time. And after I got to know them and see that they're real humans with feelings and personal lives and stuff like that.
They are not only avatar pictures.
Yeah, which are posting comments on my code and stuff like that. It was much easier to talk with them, and I felt much better in the team after that. And I think it's something to keep in mind for those that are feeling the same.
And linked to that, because it was on my list and close to the question, free time. Do you somehow managed to be fast, but my hope is that you didn't do that without having free time as well. I mean, you just didn't cut out your personal life to be fast trackers in your professional one. So how is this management of the free time for you?
Do you want to go? Or
yeah, sure. So from my perspective, giving up your personal life doesn't help you on the long run. It might help you 1 year, but I don't know, you will fail at some point. So you have to keep a balance, work-life balance. But you still have to find that time in which you are the most efficient in learning. This is how it works for me. I'm not sure for the others, but the most important thing for me is finding the right time when I'm most efficient and I learn things for myself and for improving myself, and find some time when to have to relax, and that knowledge that you acquired, for example, in my case, in the morning, which I study the most of the things in the first couple of hours on the day. I still have to give myself a free time in the evening in order to, I don't know, to accumulate and get strongest the knowledge I acquired during the day. But yeah, you can do many things. For example, I don't know, going to gym or something.
I think we do encourage people do sport. It's very important, and at least I do encourage. I do encourage you at least have an artistic activity and sport, of course. I think for any software developer and in general people staying in an office, doing something, staying on a chair maybe 8 hours a day, that is very healthy to at least maybe once a week. This doesn't have to be something frequent. It's not, you're not necessarily an athlete, but you have to do that. Do you want to add something, Maria?
I totally agree with Mircea on that. It's important to mix those things up and set your priorities in order. What I want to add about this is that consistency is the key. I mean, if you don't do study for that every day for half an hour, let's say, this kind of thing, it's much more efficient than spending an entire month reading up to 4 hours a day about that, and after that you take a break, and after 2 months you realize that you didn't quite assimilate all that information.
Someone told me at some point that sometimes a good night of sleep is the best debugger. So, and I found myself in some situations where I stayed up to maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m. trying to solve a problem, and I went to sleep because I couldn't do it anymore, and when I woke up, it was so easy to solve it, so I instantaneously find it. So without free time, I think you just make your life more difficult if you don't take your time, which can be in so many ways split it, like seeing friends, again, interpersonal relationships. They can help you go over the impostor syndrome. They can help you decouple, do sport, play some music, paint something, whatever you'd like, read a non-technical book. So good day. Is it okay when you are still a junior to dive into freelance projects using a different language than you use at your company? Will you benefit in terms of knowledge? So I think please allow us to skip these questions, guys, and I will do that with a very good reason. Just in a few days from now on, we will have another discussion on the same YouTube channel live, and I would advise you join us. It is about freelancing, so maybe we can discuss that subject at that point with someone who does that for many years. They would definitely have a lot of more advices for you. I can tell you from my opinion very shortly now that freelancing is difficult for juniors, but let's just take this question because it's definitely a bit outside of the today's subject, and it fits very well with the live stream I will have in a week from now on. So just subscribe to the channel, and the next live event is about freelancing, and I hope you will find it very interesting. How to avoid fear of failure and focus more on solving problems in these couple of years. Did you experience the fear of failure? And did you get over it? How?
Well, whenever you are putting yourself in difficult situations, you have to acknowledge the fact that you can fail, but you have to think what's the worst that can happen if you fail. I mean, you have to put into balance what's the failure, what does the failure mean, and what can you accomplish if you succeed in that mission. And most of the time you will see that even though you think that you failed in doing something, that's actually just your perspective, and it's the imposter syndrome.
I totally agree with you, Maria, and I have to say that even if you fail, you might learn more things
from a failure than from being
from
successful.
success. Yes.
So I think one of the things people tell me is that they are afraid of failure because of what others around them will think. Should we worry about our colleagues, for example? Okay, I will fail. Will they be, I don't know, will they bully me or something because I failed? What could be in someone's mind? Should we get over it?
I think it's a lot of discussion here on that subject, right? Fear of failure, but
yeah, it's kind of too philosophical. But the idea, I think, is, and starting from something that we said earlier, you still start by building trust with your teammates, and that helps you in a lot of things. And I won't recap them again. But if you trust your teammates and they trust you, then there is no longer any reason and any valid reason for fear of failure in the team.
yes.
Because they will help you. You will be able to ask for help, and even if you screw it up, then it's still okay. Everybody does mistakes. Someone asked me, and I continue again. This is one of the questions I get very often, frequently get from the audience. They tell me, why do you leave the mistakes on your YouTube channel? Why don't you edit your videos after? Or first of all, I choose live events, and then I don't edit. I usually don't edit my videos, and I tell them, yeah, I made a mistake, and then I solved it in the next live event. And it's okay, because I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. It's okay to make mistakes, and that's what I want people to see. I want people to see and understand that everyone makes mistakes. It doesn't matter how much experience they are. So you don't have to be afraid of failure from this point of view. And you have, if you are, then you have to solve that, because that's something will never solve by itself. Because you will be prone to making mistakes even when you have many years of experience and you are very, very skilled in a lot of things. Could you advise how can an engineer can grow to an architect? That's a really good question, actually. I don't think it's some question for our today's discussion. I don't know if you want to take it. Do you plan actually go further than development at some point? And which will be the direction? Will it be, I don't know, something like development leadership, architecture, project management? There are a lot of directions. One of the things I don't like is that people sometimes confuse, let's say, developer, and then somehow the architect is somewhere above the developer, but it's like a second stage of a Pokemon. But it's not like that. It's not you are a developer and then you are an architect. You can have a developer and grow as a developer and grow as an architect, a developer and grow as a project manager. So there are a lot of directions here. And again, a long discussion, and I'm planning also a video about that with someone skilled in this. But what do you think? If you want to answer this question, do you think about going to an architecture level, or is that not even in your plan for now?
For me, for instance, I didn't think about architect, but I was thinking about maybe other positions from the ones that you mentioned that maybe I can think about, but not today. And what I want to add regarding the previous question, when you've asked about what senior means, for me, at least architect, it doesn't only require to be super strong or on technical skills and soft skills, but for that one, actually, I believe that you need much more years of experience, because you need to have a bigger picture.
And you can't be an architect. You can't be a junior architect. Okay, you can't start as an architect and then become a developer. You start as a developer, and at some point you decide you continue as a developer or you continue to the architecture. And that difference is very simple. Usually, is a developer knows things in depth, while an architect they know them from the top of the mountain. So in a project, in a well structured project and in a good one, there will always be a good relationship between the architect and the developer, because the architect doesn't know the things in depth and the developer doesn't know them from the top of the mountain. So they need one another. Yeah, so I think that's a strong point. And that's a very good question, actually. Let's say it's a difficult one. So how do you know that you get to that level of seniority? I mean, where the level starts and where it ends. So how do you know that you are seniors? How do you know that you are not a junior anymore? You start as a junior, that's clear. You can't start as a senior. So that's an easy point. But at some point, is there a threshold? Or do I wake up tomorrow and starting now I'm a senior? How does that happen from your perspective? I will share you my opinion also afterwards, but I want to hear from the guests first.
Okay, so I think on my side, the threshold is defined by you. For example, in my case, I would like to, even if I don't know, reach some threshold, I will level up the threshold even more, and I will try to get even up. I'm not sure. I think is about how do you lead at least a couple of engineers, and if you are strong enough to answer to their questions, to help them, but I'm not sure how to say it like in a technical way, like where is that line exactly.
I think when you are feeling more autonomous and you don't feel the need to reach out to other people, you're feeling comfortable solving your own issues.
Yes.
I do think as well that feeling of comfort is related to that. But what I think is that the level of seniority is somehow something decided by the others around you, not by yourself. So you don't say, starting today I'm a senior developer. You have to be recognized by the others as a senior developer. So when people say, "Oh, this folk is a senior developer," then you start to become a senior developer. So that's how I see things. And how does that happen? When does that happen? It's at the point when you convinced others that you are skilled enough. Skilled meaning, of course, as we discussed earlier, both technical and soft skills. And yeah, that's what I see. So just a couple of more questions, guys, and then we are off because we are very, very close to the ending time. Thank you very much for so many questions. So I find sometimes that it's necessary to master many programming languages. Well, I didn't find that, but let's see that continue. Did you guys stuck with one language like Java until you master it, or where's the secret to master different languages? So what do you think? Is there a need to master different languages? What does it mean, master? Because can you actually literally master more languages? I mean, as a developer, I'm a Java developer for many, many, many years, and I still feel that I have many things to learn in Java still. I know maybe you can tell us, Mircea. I know you are working at least in a couple of languages Java and JavaScript. So do you feel you master both of them? They equally?
No, of course I don't master all of them. I think I agree with you. You can master one or maybe two if you are really strong full stack. For example, maybe knowing front-end languages and
investing a lot of time.
But you have to invest a lot of time in that. If it helps, this is the question. It depends. If you want to be really focused and really you find your niche, maybe you can go with one language and then master it. If you, however, maybe you want to work in a startup, for example, where they use a lot of things and they don't have people, maybe it's very useful for you to know 1, 2, 3 languages.
But you will not go in depth with all of them.
will
You
not go in
basically
depth,
learn the
yes.
surface of all of them. So you'll be a good consultant over them,
Exactly.
like an architect, but you won't really be powerful with either. Do you think about that, Maria?
Yeah, well, for me, I started learning in depth one language because that felt more comfortable for me. I wanted to feel myself comfortable solving one side of the problems, and I've later discovered that when you understand I'm talking now about backend technologies, when you understand the concepts, you will then discover that you can read code in other language and maybe be able to write it as well. But I think that it's also very important to be aware and know how to code in other languages, let's say, for developing the front-end part of the application.
So what you say is be T-shaped, like
Yeah.
knowing from the surface some, but be very powerful in at least one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last questions, guys. The last question, because we literally spent all the time. And it says, at the very beginning, on your first job as a software developer, do you feel the right approach is learn how it is done or learn how it works?
I'm not sure exactly what are.
I think what they want to say is, do you learn how something like how to create an endpoint, and you learn that you have to put a breast controller over the class, get mapping over the method, but you don't really understand why you do that. And you learn many things like how to do them. You know how to create an endpoint, but you don't understand why that endpoint works like that. Or when you start it slower, and when you do something like creating an endpoint, you also try to understand what's behind the scenes. I think that's the question actually.
It's much, or at least for me, it was much more important to understand the context, not just the surface, because in the very beginning, maybe it will be faster for you to develop some things because you understand the concept on the surface, but later when the project become bigger, it will be much more difficult for you to fix some bugs, let's say, if you don't understand how the framework works, for instance. And what's very important, for instance, in my peer-to-peer sessions, when the more senior developer was explaining to me how that was solved, it is very important to stop him and ask why are you doing that, why it's
I'm also a fan of why questions. Yeah, I when I start learning something, I want to start at the basic level of it and to see the bigger picture of that, and then I will go in depth and and see exactly how to do it. But at the first point, I want to see in what context it applies, what can I do in a larger project, for example, or in a larger code base. But yeah, for me, it's very important to know why.
Okay, so both of you go in depth and understand not only that you create an endpoint adding the annotation, but also why you add that annotation and how it works behind the scenes. That was a really good question, because I will tell you, and that's maybe interesting for the audience to know, and I will again put it in a separate video which is related to learning, especially, where I will invite a guest who is also an author and a teacher. I don't tell you who is that folk, because I want to be a surprise when I schedule. But the idea is that when you will compare American learning style with European learning style, you will see that in many cases Europeans start with knowing in depth and then taking the next subject and then learning in depth and then taking another subject and then learning in depth, while Americans usually start with the surface and then they go in depth for everything. So one of the editors I'm working with always compare that with learning how to drive a car. Do you prefer starting with a car with an automatic gear, and once you've learned how to drive, like move the wheel, and then you learn how to to learn the driving a car with a manual gear, or you from the beginning learn directly to drive a car with a manual gear. In Europe we start with the manual gear. In US they usually start with the automatic one. So you see a very big difference here, which is related to exactly the way they learn. But I will give you more details about that in the episode where I will discuss strictly about studying. Can you advise whether it's a good idea to read open source code in order to learn better approaches?
Source code. I think I'm not sure about.
Maybe do you debug on open source code when you are starting to work with a framework? Do you go in depth and take a look even in the framework itself? Sometimes.
Yeah, I think I met these situations in which I had at least to read from somewhere how the framework works in order to solve a bug.
But not on purpose. You don't go that on purpose. You go when you have a specific scenario.
Yes.
I think it's much more difficult when you are a junior to
When you're a junior.
to go into so much complicated code, let's say.
Because I do that, and I actually do that for learning. I will explain you more about that in one of my next books that is almost ready to be published. So I won't tell you a lot of details now. I will let you figure them out from the book. And that was one more question above the last one. So I think it's time to close now. But before closing, of course, I would like to remind you about our sponsors. So Lemon.io, who is a freelance platform for experienced developers, which you should definitely check out. And that's because they have a lot of things to offer for mid, plus, and senior developers. So Lemon.io offers projects considering developers' tech skills, expectations about projects duration or their type. You don't have to look for clients yourself, sell yourself every time and dump on prices, because all communication is handled by Lemon.io. And you just code, get an excellent salary, and enjoy your life. So give them a chance and check out the link in the video description and in the comment section. And of course, we thank you very much, Ndava, for the nice room where we where we stream the live event from. Check them out, guys, and make us happy as well. Thank you very much, Maria and Mircea, for today's talk. It was really full of nice things that the audience, I'm pretty sure they already thank us all, and they will find interesting and helpful, hopefully, for their future. Until our next event, guys, please subscribe to be sure that you are notified about the events. Until the next event, we wave goodbye, and thank you very much.